All right, let me see if I can do like a short update. At the risk of saying, John, you're perpetually the zeal of thine house that beating me up. I want to do a little of the news that I've talked about this last year. Maybe I saw a lot of my friends today, and it would have been good to have some of them share and talk about some of their experiences. I'll start with this one because a few things happen. Oftentimes, I park in HEB parking lot in Flower Bluff and walk to the Mission where I see my friends. I don't eat at the Mission or anything, but that's where I see a lot of my friends. And there's a few homeless friends of mine that, of course, they see them with me. And a few of my homeless friends said that there's a security guard in HEB. He's a black security guard. And they do the security and they ride around. And sometimes when I'm walking with my homeless friends back to my car and they're gonna walk back to the park or something, they'll cut through HEB. And the black security guard, and I'm assuming it's the same one that I'll talk about, he has told them not to cut through HEB parking lot. Not to cut through the cars, and they're just really just walking the straight line without having to walk all the way to the street. And they've threatened my friends, we're going to call the cops if you... And of course they see me with those guys, thinking maybe I'm, a risk or whatever. But anyway, I go to HEB and shop like I just did. Today I didn't buy anything because I think I'll pick something up. But I noticed as I was walking in, he was kind of checking me out in that little vehicle. And then I didn't buy nothing, but maybe it looked suspicious or whatever. And when I walked out, that same black security guard, I'm assuming it's the same one, he just stops and he's looking at me. And so then I had him roll down the window and I pulled out my ID. I said, you want to check the ID? I said, I see you sitting there looking at me. I said, oh, I was just going to see if you were going to cross. But he waited till I got to my car. And look, I walked a ways to get to the car I parked for, and then he was right behind me. And I told one of my other friends today an incident what got me upset a few years ago, because they were talking about profiling the homeless. And a story came up, Furman or someone said something. I said, I was with Pops one day, the old man who I helped for a few years. This became like one of the people I helped. And Pops passed away a few years ago, but I used to take Pops, Bobby Birdwell, a veteran who passed away, to Walmart on Staple Street, Walmart in Corpus Christi. Sure enough, today we were discussing like profiling, even before this instance just happened now, which caused me to do a little update. And I used to take Pops into that Walmart closer to the other side of town where Pops lived. It was like a regular routine. And there was a guy, he was probably my age, but the Hispanic guys, in this case, who do the security at the door. Just about every time me and Pops would walk out, just shop, and Pops would get his groceries, and he had a Lone Star card, food stamp card. He would stop us, he would read the receipt real slowly, then let us go. And that happened multiple times. And so one time, and I was nice when I was with Pops, different than when I'm by myself. And one time, Pops, he stopped us again, even at times where there might be 3 or 4 people in front of us leaving the store, and 2 behind us, he would go out of his way, you guys, stop, come here. And Pop said, John, he's got an authority problem. And I looked at him nicely. I said, let me let you know, I do street ministry, but you might see me in here all in black. That day I was in black, today I'm not. I said, and I even showed him my license and all. I said, look, I'm a retired firefighter. I do street ministry. Just to let him know that, we're not here robbing. Sure enough, he stopped us again one day. And I was coming back into town from doing a Bible study, and I kept thinking, let me go see if that guy's there today, because I'm by myself. And I was taking a long ride. I'm on a certain road here coming into town. This road actually. I said, should I get off at Everhart and go see if that guy's there? Sure enough, I did. And I just went to see if he was there, to call him out. Sure enough, I remember his face, I forget his name. He's at the door. But my countenance changed. I said, now you come here. Right now we're going to the manager. And he followed. And then I went wherever the door. I said, now call the guy running the store. Happened to be a black man. I said, no, I want the top manager. And when he came back, I said, now I want you to know, this guy has been pulling us over. And I was mad. I'm going to sue your thing, put you out of business, because you, of all people, the black manager, I did not know was black until he showed up. I said, you of all people should know they're profiling people, whether by race or economic profiling, meaning you see people that are poor or homeless. And yes, you might have a higher instance of people like that shoplifting. But look, that's not a normal routine. Some do it, but you don't profile everybody for it. And that got me mad. And I said, and I even had a video of that guy stopping me in pop stores. I said, look, this is the guy that keeps stopping me. So the problem was solved. But you let people get away with things too long, they think they can keep doing wrong. Now, the one news thing I'll share, and there's so many, but this last few years, our media, I heard Mr. John Brennan, who was one of the people supposedly today they arrested in Florida, the suspect in all of these incendiary devices that were sent even to Joe Biden and others. John Brennan, the guy now working for CNN, who I criticized on his Twitter account, and I hold to that criticism. And this is, and I'll do this one short because I want you to focus on this. Part of the whole media narrative and the whole Russian collusion and everything else, which Mr. Mueller is going to put out his report after the midterms. But it was supposed to be based on really big things about Russia's interference and Trump's possible collusion with the Russians. And one of their top, and it might have been the first actual one that all U.S. media said there was finally a resolution of justice in the corruption of the Russian-Trump collusion. It was a big thing. And it was even used as one of the bases for investigating and the possible removal by impeachment of the president, depending on what happens in the midterms. Okay, so for all that coverage, for months and months of it, what was one of the big busts that were done? I spoke on it, and I'll try and make it simple. Mr. Mueller, the FBI, the CIA, and the media all pointed to a man by the name of George Papadopoulos, who was in the Trump campaign, who they finally got justice to bust him, and it was the Trump-Russia crimes. And at the time I said, this man, what he did was he was set up by our intelligence agencies. And this is not a conspiracy, because I looked at it, and he spoke the last few days. There's news about him today. And they wanted a connection. Do the Trump people have knowledge of the hacking of the Hillary Clinton emails? Did they know about it from the Russians, which we still even don't have evidence that Russians hacked them, believe it or not. So our government, with connections with British spies who worked alongside our intelligence agencies for many, many years, they had this man who worked for Trump in the campaign, George Papadopoulos. They had him in a particular club, bar, chance meetings that were set up. Now this man, when people were setting up, oh, we want you to meet this one and that one, you know what he did? He himself reported to the FBI, to our government. He himself said, something suspicious. I think people are setting me up over here. He himself reported that to our intelligence agencies, not knowing that it was our intelligence agencies that were setting up this thing. This is fact. And then in one of the meetings, like at a club and all, particular figures, I mentioned them all in the past, somebody who was a plant from the intelligence agencies themselves, working in collusion with the intelligence agencies to root out collusion, said to Mr. Papadopoulos, hey, we have evidence that the Trump campaign knows about the hacked emails by the Russians. Our own intelligence agencies, in coordination with a sting operation, had a man say that to Mr. Papadopoulos. Then later, they waited for him to say something about that. And they also had a connection by another person who he finally said, somebody told me this. He slipped it out when he was drunk at a club. Gotcha. The big justice, the big Mueller team, the media all said this is a scandal. Meaning, we finally got a man to confess. What did they get him on? Then our FBI and intelligence agencies then interviewed him and said, do you have any knowledge? Have you heard anything in the Trump people, in the Trump campaign, that you all had knowledge of Russia hacking Hillary's emails? The man said, no. Gotcha. We know you heard something about it because we told you. Now that is corruption. The Mueller people, the investigators, and the media portrayed this as an honest and fair account of justice. That was a setup. And that corruption in that instance was not the Trump people, it was our intelligence agencies that did that. And this man now is going to recant. He's got to do 3 days in jail. For what? For lying that the planted guy told him something and he said, I don't have any knowledge. That would be like me being in charge of something as an officer, as a justice entity, and having one of my friends go up to you and say, hey, we heard that you and your group have a bunch of meth or coke or whatever. And then the other person saying, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. But the cop planted somebody to say it to you. And then I stop you as a cop or whatever. And I say, hey, did you hear anything about a cocaine bust or whatever? Do you have knowledge? Are you part of it? No, I have no idea what you're... now we got you. Because our own plant told you something, and that's what we busted you. Now, that is so shabby and unjust that Mueller, his people, and our whole Brennan, all of those groups did something like that. And if you had that done to somebody that worked for Obama, Susan Rice, whoever, somebody that worked for Obama, a black person, and you set that black person up like that, and then the whole media would be saying, wow, we told you, you would have exposed how wrong that was. But our media and our intelligence agencies, they're all in collusion with making people think it's okay that we manipulated the system. And that's why I still, till this day, think the Mueller people, the Rod Rosensteins, they did a lot of wrongdoing. And don't count on the Democrat Party or the media to ever actually expose any type of official oppression like that, because they're happy that these things have been done. And this man, Papadopoulos, what did he plead guilty to? Plead guilty that he lied, that somebody did indeed tell him that, and it was the plant. It was our government agencies in collusion with the British spy agencies that set him up. And I don't think that's just or right. I think it's just as wrong to manipulate if you're a security guard, and even a black one that's profiling someone like me because they see me with homeless people. The scripture says, judge righteous judgment. And so we'll see what happens in the coming. Today was the big news would actually be they finally made an arrest. There are people questioning what this man's motive was. If this man somehow was tied to a radical conservative group, so be it. It's wrong. If he was mentally deranged. But even if this man did this, but he actually wanted an opposite effect, if it was somebody that thought, I'll do this and it might actually help the Democrats, if it was that, I'm not saying it was, I bet you the media still would find a way to say Trump caused that. They would say something like, not, oh, this was really like something, not what we were reporting about. It's Trump's people targeting Trump's enemies type of thing. They would still find a way to manipulate because they are unable. The simple thing about the Papadopoulos, not only are they unable to tell you the truth about that and how wrong that was, they still purport that to be a great act of justice, which was an injustice. That's one example. And they're unable to tell you the truth about these things. They're unable to do it. When you had a Democrat shoot a Republican, almost killing him and trying to kill him, do you know the media not one time basically said, therefore the Democrats and the media should bear a responsibility before they produce and write and publish things that are incendiary. And you say, what things? I can go on a whole list. I saw news reports about open news reports, not thinking Trump is a racist, but news people, journalists saying the man is absolutely a racist. I've seen reports saying his particular views about the Kyoto Treaty will be the destruction of humanity. I read those things. Now, you pumped that into the public for 2 years now, and when somebody that is a Democrat goes out openly and almost succeeds in murdering a Republican by the name of Stephen Scalise, you still did not say we bear some of the no, you didn't. Till this very day you didn't. You said it's still Trump's fault that all of this has been bubbling up. They couldn't care less if you took a Papadopoulos, you took whoever it was. If it fits their agenda, they will not tell you the truth. Okay? We'll end this one like that. I saw one gal, I mentioned it when I got around, and this is not going to be a teaching video, which you'll see in the future. I was up at Timmons today, and there's a black man. I love black people, white people, all too. He's a big black guy. I'm sure I've seen him before. But he wears that, like, Muslim type thing that's somewhere. And he makes you know that he's big. Bodybuilding, whatever. Just kind of stopped in front of me. Of course, I don't move. You stay in your space, I stay in my space. Then he walked. I seen him when I was running at this point. Whether it's religion, whether it's your power in a position of government, when you abuse it, you should be called to the carpet for that. You should be called to the carpet for that. And I'm not a big defender of Trump, but I've seen a lot of corrupt stuff going on, which people refer to as the deep state. And that's an example of it. And the media is absolutely, totally, and the Democrat Party, totally wants that part to take place, that corrupt part. Mr. Chuck Schumer, one of the top leaders of the Democratic Party, made a statement a year or so ago. He said, oh, if Trump tries to go after the deep state, in so many words, he said they have 6 ways from Sunday to get you. Everybody knows what that statement meant was they will manipulate, they will do fake things, false things, and they will go after you. Everybody knows that statement. What would Mr. Schumer say about it? He would lie completely. I meant something else. I meant Sunday school. Because the man's unable to judge righteous judgment. He's a politician and a political hack that will cry with an immigrant tears, and then you find video of him saying a few years before, these people are not just immigrants, they're illegal. And if you just want to call them immigrants, he said, that's wrong because they're illegal and they're criminals. I saw the videos. So you tell me those people hold any true convictions? They don't. All right, we'll end it with that.